Hey, what's up, everyone? Another Wednesday, another live stream. You know how it goes. If you're watching this on replay, thank you. If you want to skip ahead 2 to 5 minutes until we get everything set up and everyone gets in here, that's cool too. Angel, thank you for joining. Brutality, thank you for joining. Veg Tribe, thank you for joining. Chaos Guitars, thank you for joining. There they are. What's up,
Howdy.
guys?
Oh,
Yeah,
good to see you.
likewise.
Going. There we
Chaos Incarnate. Good, man. How are you guys?
How's it going? Doing
Good.
really good. Doing really,
Shout out
really
to
good.
Rosie. She just jumped in. Bizzer Kicks just jumped in. If you have people, just shout them out. Feel free.
Very nice. Oh, we know my man Lewis. Heck yeah.
Of
This
course.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having
And
us,
great
man.
show. I want to get to that in a bit. I don't want to jump right into it, but yeah. I'll just read something real quick off the top and then we'll let some people jump in here and get started. And if at any point you see
Heck
someone's
yeah.
comment or something, just want to read it out and then answer it, feel free. Cool. Thank you,
All right.
everyone, for jumping in
Sweet.
too. All right. Hello and welcome to the Bellwether Ritual live stream where we discuss music, the local Lehigh Valley and beyond today, especially PA scene, bands, social media, and more. Today is Wednesday, September 13th. My name is Mike and I'm the vocalist and guitarist of Bellwether Ritual. Hope you all had a good week. We had an awesome show in Harrisburg last Saturday with Hate Machine, Galaxy Has Eyes, and our guest tonight, Brutality. So it was awesome. I'm sure we're going to catch up on that right quick. We had a great time. And we also debuted our new bass player, and she did awesome. So shout out to Hillary. You can go check her out. Tonight, our guest is Reese and Bryce, Brothers of Brotality. They are based out of New York, and they strive to honor the glory days of thrash metal while injecting a modern twist of melody and progressive grooves. We'll talk about all of this because I have some very similar. They cite Mastodon and Megadeth as some of their influences, which I'll definitely talk your ear off about Mastodon for sure. And they've,
Heck
so you're wearing the shirt
yeah.
too at the show. Yeah. They've earned multiple awards and played some pretty amazing gigs, including co-headlining. How do you pronounce this? Exodo Fest in Mexico. Cool.
Nailed
Which
it.
looked awesome, and we'll talk about all that and more, guys. Welcome to the stream. How are you guys doing?
Dude, so good.
Yeah, no
Thank you so
problem.
much for having us
Anything
on.
you guys want to plug right off the top? I know you have a couple shows coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, so this coming up weekend, September 15th and 16th, will be at Uprise Fest in Shippensburg, PA, down at the Rockstar stage. After that, we are
Yeah,
in
man.
Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, at the showcase for a headliner there. That's on September 30th. And then right there, we move right along. We're playing up in Binghamton, New York on the 13th, Oneonta, New York on the 14th.
Very cool.
And yeah, we're just keeping it rolling this fall.
Let's see here. So let's just quick hit on the HMAC show. That's the first time I've ever played there. What were your thoughts just in general? How'd the night go for you guys?
It was really, really, really fun. It was our second time playing there. We played there once before, like months ago, last year. We got the chance to open for Obscura, which was awesome. So that it was really cool. Like it was same stage and everything again. So really cool venue. Awesome crew of people that work there and everything. Everyone's super nice and supportive. And yeah, it was just such a fun show. The other bands
Yeah,
were awesome too. You
likewise.
guys were awesome as always. Um, thanks, man. It was a really, really fun night.
Yeah, it's such a great room. They really dial the sound in so well. Like you can feel every chug in your soul. It just makes
For sure. Let's see here. I'm gonna apologize in advance. I need glasses, so if I pronounce your name wrong, just pardon me. Let's see. Chewy City says, amazing gigs, horns, 100% cool. Thank you for that. Kinsey was there rocking out hard. We thank him for that. He said, love these guys at HMAC. Thank you. Um, And
Yeah, so
Mikey, Michael
that's
and
awesome.
Allie, thank you for joining. Okay. Uh, yeah.
Yes,
Any questions you got for
love
the
you
guys,
guys.
just dump them in the comments and we'll read them out and get to it. Yeah. Blaze says, love Reese and Bryce. Yep.
What's up, Blake?
All right.
It was a awesome dude.
All right. So you guys are out in New York. Did you were like born and raised there, or did you like move in at some point?
Yeah, so we were born and raised upstate New York, which is like right on the border. We're like right on the river. We're about an hour
Oh,
away
yeah.
from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and like an hour away from New York, but like middle of nowhere. So for us, a local show is either like Scranton or Middletown. You
Okay.
got to drive about an hour
Cool.
to find any sort of venue.
Have you played Curry's Donuts?
Dude,
Yeah.
have
Cool.
played
Yeah,
Curry
we
we're
have,
looking
we
at
Donuts.
that.
have.
Yeah, it looks like a fun place.
Dude, Curry Donuts, we played in the fall, so
Yeah.
they stopped doing their outdoor shows. So all they did just moved the booths from the inside, and we were like standing on the tables. They gave us like a back. It was hilarious.
Yeah, we had George on a couple, maybe about a month or so ago. Um, I just thought it was hilarious. I randomly found some like metal band out of Ohio was like playing at a donut shop. And I was like, "What is this?" And it was like right up the road to Wilkes-Barre. And I was like, "That's crazy."
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right. So was there a band or someone in your family that was really the thing that kind of kicked off your interest in music in general, like when you're growing up?
Yeah, I mean, our
Okay,
parents
cool.
both got us into metal. So like they, yeah, my mom was pregnant with Bryce while they went to Ozfest. So like super into metal ever since growing up. So we were just kind of
Mhm.
always inundated with metal, and so it just made sense that we kind of gravitated towards that when we wanted to
Mhm.
learn music and write music ourselves. And our dad, he plays a bunch of instruments like bass and guitar mainly, and so when we were really young, like when we were each around 7, he showed us both guitar, and then Bryce went and kept with that, and then I kind of picked up bass like 2 years after into playing guitar to do something a little different, and yeah, ever since we just
Very
kept falling
cool.
in love with it more.
Um, Bryce, do you have like did you keep like a rehearsal, like a practice schedule to like I don't know, you just have a lot of different techniques that you do very well and you're really fast. I'm just wondering, like, did you like put a lot of time in up front or how that, or are you just naturally gifted?
Man, first of all, thank you. So like a big thing that we did, like right when we were both of us when we started learning, like, learning is always the hardest part right when you start because you can't do anything. But our dad would take us in like 15 minutes a day. He'd just sit down with
Mm,
us and make sure that we got 15 minutes of playtime in, and he'd play with us. And like it got to the point where like there'd be half the days where we'd be stoked to play, and half the days where he wouldn't want to, but we'd still hit that 15 minutes. And then like the more we did it, the more we wanted to do that 15 minutes. 15 turned into 30 in an hour, and just like us wanting to play by ourselves. So then as we kept going, like I credit a lot of like the techniques and stuff that I've learned just to learning other songs that I enjoy, and like hearing the guitarists that I love play those technical things, and just being
mhm.
able be wanting to match that. And then as well as that, like more recently, I like to like learn a lot of techniques through like my own songwriting. Like one of the things that I love to do when I'm writing music is write stuff that I can't play yet. Like I'll hear something and like I'll go
Mhm.
really slow and figure out what notes I want, how I want it to sound, and then work with a metronome, speed it up, get the technique down, work on that technique separately and apply it to what I'm learning, and like write while I'm learning things at the same time. And then that's kind of what I do a lot currently to like improve on
Very cool.
what I know.
And Reese, we were commenting at Carnival of Chaos, especially, but even on the records and all, your bass tone is like really stand out. And yeah, what's going on there? What's the secret trick?
Well, thanks. Yeah, I that it's not. I wish I could give like a boom, this is the head I use. That's, you know, like for a while I went through so many different tones. Like my first head that I had was like an orange OB1500, which is, if anyone knows what that is, that's like the opposite of what my tone is now. You know, super vintage sounding. So through a bunch of just stuff and growing up as a bass player, like getting different gear and just constantly adding like a compression pedal or a boost pedal for distortion and a dark glass and a noise gate. All those are a part of my rig now. So it's like I'm running a bunch of different stuff, but I think if I had to give anyone like a hack as much as I could, I mean, most of it comes from my dark glass head. It's the dark glass Micro Tubes 500. Most of it's coming from there. You can get as close as you can from that. And then I also run a Spectracomp compression pedal. It's just one knob, tiny little pedal on my board. But that one, it evens everything out. So those two things are like really like, I don't know, probably the biggest part of my sound, but it's certainly been something that has taken like, ever since I've been a bass player, I've just been accumulating gear as any musician does. So I kind of feel like I finally am at a place where I don't really need more. I know that's insane to say because I know I'll probably have 10 more pedals, but for now, I think
I feel like it's like a constant flow state. You know, you just got to keep it moving through. Yeah, try different stuff out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Rain Sparkle says, killer show Saturday. Yes, that was a lot of fun. Thank you for coming and for being awesome there. Kinsey says, bassist had the best bassist while playing. Oh, cool. Chaos Incarnate Bro says, I knew I loved your mom. Let's see. Viking Drums, thanks for joining. Fester and C. Evans, thanks for joining. A whole bunch of people. So thank you very much for jumping in here. Kinsey says professional. Yeah, so feel free to keep posting your questions and comments in there. Do you guys, let's keep gear for a second if you don't mind. Like, I hear probably a couple. Okay, cool. Yeah, I figured you guys would. And we have a lot of gearheads in here too. So as far as like guitar tunings go, I see you have like you're swapping out as you go. Are there? I'm going to take a guess. Are you down on A at some point on the low string? All right, cool. All right.
There we go. Heck yeah. Yeah. So I have 3 different guitars that I play with live, and I'm like a Floyd addict. So like I can't just switch the tuning. I got to switch guitars, but it's a great excuse for me to play more guitars live. So like typically start the set in drop C with my Zephos, and then which is my green, the pointy, and then we'll switch like right away into that low A. And it's not quite a drop A. I know you're very familiar with Mastodon, but it's this A tuning where it's like D standard or drop C, but you take that lowest string and drop it all the way to an A. So when you with power chords, you're hitting an octave all over the low string. And so that's that. And then with my Dean ML, I'm in D standard for that for a couple songs.
Is that now? How did you get there? Was it something you based around vocals? Like we went through this whole process of like, where should we actually be singing these songs, and like tried to take a guess about as far as range goes, and we ended up somewhere similar, D standard for a lot, drop C.
Yeah.
But yeah, just curious.
So for us, the vocals always come after the music when we're writing. So it wasn't really related. Most of it was like when we grew up, like the biggest bands we were influenced by and inspired by when we were like kids were bands like As I Lay Dying and Devil Wears Prada, like a lot of like old, not like too old school, but like a lot of that like 2000s metalcore stuff. Still, but a lot of that is in drop C. So that's like I would want to learn those songs, and I got comfortable in drop C. And I think drop C is a very good middle ground between like being low and heavy, but also like being still very articulate and clear. So like with playing in drop C, like I just kind of got very comfortable there. But then we worked D standard because like when I'd be practicing or doing something, I would just be practicing on a guitar in E standard and write some riffs. and I would like the way it sounds, and then just for the sake of like maybe a little more metal, a little easier to play live, we would just move those riffs down to D standard to keep it similar. And then the tuning for me wanting to learn a bunch of old Mastodon riffs. And so like we didn't use that at all on the first album. That came into play on The Woods Will End You. And that came like I was learning like Puncher and like March of the Fire Ants and Tusk and all those riffs. The last riff in our song An Evil Presence, like I like that riff just came out and I was like, that riff is sick, we got to do it somehow. But then I was comfortable with that tuning that I couldn't write any riffs around it. But then once that tuning started to click more, we got like Frost Empire and An Evil Presence, and even some new songs we're working on now are in that tuning. So it's a lot of just like playing in the tunings that my favorite bands are in after learning their songs, and then me getting distracted playing their songs and like chugging out riffs.
I love that strategy too, especially when you're going for like a specific feel to, like, we have a couple bands that we like all make sure to listen to or try to catch like that groove, and then there's so much you can do with it. It's really and it's a interesting way to like get an influence without, with still being yourself too. One thing I notice you guys do a lot as well is switch. Like, you're not like, there's some bands, I could be guilty of this sometimes. It's like it's all minor all the time, but like you bring in like major keys. I'm thinking you have like I think it's instrumental. Wild, is it completely instrumental? Yeah, and just that to kind of kick the whole thing off, even with these like major kind of key things, I thought was really interesting as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, man. We like do that a lot because it is something that you don't hear a whole lot. So like a lot of times we'll be sandwiched in a bill with like 4 death metal bands. So when we hit the stage and it's like there's a riff in major, it automatically just gets the people like, oh wait, that sounds a little different. And honestly, just because I listen to a lot of like Baroness as well, and like even like not too metal bands like Reliant K or like Gates, and bands that are like all just like euphoric major songs. And those are some of my favorite songs ever. I know the same with you, but like I love writing happy major music, so it just out as well.
Yeah, we listen to a lot of pop punk, surprisingly, like a lot. So like I feel like it inevitably comes out somehow. If we listen to a lot of music, whatever genre that is, it's gonna come out somehow in our music in some way. So I think like, I mean, you listen to one genre for so long, it's gonna come out. So I think like maybe even, I mean, if John was here right now hearing us say this, he would cringe so hard, he would kill. But I think it, like, that pop punk influence might come out every once in a while.
Yeah, I agree. Our drummer is big into that as well. So it's like sometimes it's interesting too how it's all about like chemistry and how you all work together. You just want to talk about that maybe too a little bit, like growing up brothers and learning these things together. Like, and then I guess John's your close friend, who jumps on. Yeah. Yeah. Has this been like, have you had other bands, or have you ever, or were you just like kind of stuck with what you had with you two?
Yeah.
So we started playing live when I was like 12 and he was 10, and we started in like a few other bands. It was kind of just like 3-hour cover sets that we'd like play at a campground or we'd play in a bar, and like that's what years. And then eventually we started like really loving metal for ourselves and really wanting to write our own music. So then Brotality came out of that, and we got serious about Brotality in 2018. And that's where we started like to actually pick up, like, we want to do like original sets, our own stuff, put out our own music. And then we had another drummer previously. And then John came into the fold early, what is it, 2021? Or no, 2022. Yeah, like February 2022. Yeah. So coming up on 2 years now. But yeah, John's an absolute blessing. We love John. He's stuck at work right now, or else he would be right in here talking about everything. But yeah, it's always been really nice to work with like Reese, obviously, because like since we learned both from our dad and we both like play the same way and have played so long together, like whenever we show each other riffs, it's like I don't even think about it sometimes, but like I'll like we'll go to show each other. Like, I'll write a riff and show Reese, for example, and I'll just kind of sit there and go, just play it and look at it. I'm going to go da-na-na-na, and like have to say anything, and it'll only take a try or two, and it'll be like da-na-na-na, because we kind of have like the same way of how our fingers want to fall on the fretboard. Like it's very easy to like bounce stuff back and
That's
forth
so
with each other.
important and awesome. And yeah, that's something that's hard to find. So when you actually grow up doing it together, there's going to be such a bond there. And they do say like your brain waves, like as musicians, when you play together, like they do sync in a weird way, like they do these studies. But you can definitely feel it, you know, and you're like completing each other's sentences in a way. It's interesting.
we we actually, like, I know it's cliche because we're brothers, like, but we genuinely do it all the time. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's not even like we just finish each other's sentences. They'll One time there was like five
Oh
minutes
my
of
god.
silence. We were in or something, and I don't even know what prompted it,
We,
but we just
we,
at the same exact time said the same thing out of nowhere.
we were in the RV headed to a gig on tour, and we were all sitting there in silence, no music or anything. And the GPS said 5 minutes left, and Reese and I, exact same time, exact same phrase, and just went 5 more minutes. Like so in sync that it almost just sounded like one voice. And we looked at each other like, get out of my
Yeah,
head.
it is cool.
Yeah.
And like, let's try, like, the goal of playing live is try to get everyone in on that experience with you. And I think you guys also do a great job of that. I don't know, is that something like you consciously put like time and effort into as well? Like, we talk about this all the time. Like, what are we actually going to do up on stage?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it all starts with making sure that we each individually have the songs nailed, absolutely nailed, right? Like we're never ever gonna play a song live if in practice there's any part that isn't like dialed yet, right? So like that's like a given to start from, which is really important because then that allows you to like put energy into it and go crazy and not stare down at your
Yes.
fretboard the whole time dialed, right? So each person has them. Then you get together for practice, and we all have them to all have it dialed together as a unit. And so then when we get on stage, we already have all that covered. And so you're not even really thinking about like, well, what's the next part, and like, what do we have to do next? Like, I'm not even really
Mhm.
thinking about the songs
Yeah.
live. I'm thinking about the performance, and so I'm about like crowd engagement and facial expressions and how can I lift my bass fun, or like how can I
Yeah.
kick here or like punch here, you know, like little things like that. I think it all starts with like having the music as dialed as you can beforehand. That way you can actually like go crazy
That is something we
naturally live.
discussed as well. So I'm glad that to hear that. Rain Sparkle says your stage presence is killer. I agree. And she also has
Thank
a
you.
question. How often do you practice?
Um, I mean, individually, we all practice every day. I think that's like a super important thing. Um, you know, whether it's if like Bryce and I
Mhm.
both do vocals and guitars, like whether it's me vocals for a night or bass, or you know, try to do both as much as possible. So making sure that like you put that time in, even with a crazy busy schedule. We're all insanely busy, but still having a priority on the music keeps us tight,
Yeah.
even if we can't get together a lot. But whenever we have off weekends, like if we have a weekend where we don't have a gig, we get together for a practice. And so it keeps us in check, whether we're every weekend playing shows.
Yeah.
Obviously, that keeps you tight. And then when you have it off, of course, maybe there's a few weekends here and there that you take a little time off to not get overwhelmed. But most of the time, we're just trying to fill all our time in with practice.
Because even like as a band, like since the beginning of our summer, like we went into the studio and then on tour, and then like once we got back from tour, it's still been shows every weekend. So like as a band, we haven't gotten together for like a collective practice probably since
Mm.
the beginning of June.
Yeah.
But like playing every weekend is just like practice, but in front
Even
of
better than
people
practice.
full
Yeah.
tilt. Like so So like it's a balance between when we do practice, it'll be like, all right, let's like run our set to make sure it's timed right, or make sure we have it just to nail it. But like most of our practice time gets spent like not just really playing the songs a bunch, but like working on like new stuff, or going over stuff that we aren't ready to play live yet, and just really nailing it down. And hello,
I
Mitch.
was just
Nice to
gonna
see
shout him
you.
out. Yeah, go ahead.
I love
And
Mitch.
Rain says, "Thank you. Yes, thank you for asking questions." Um,
Yeah.
Real quick on the vocals thing, how is that something as you're writing the song, does one person gravitate towards it, or you're like, let's do a back and forth thing, or yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. And is it something like, are you warming up and cooling down after your performances? Like, how much do you put in, like, not put into it, but I mean, like, some people really do a whole like series of things, and some people just go out there and let it rip.
Yeah. So I mean, when I first started singing, when I was like 14 or something, when we were doing these cover sets, I lost my voice every night, and I
Yeah,
wasn't even going crazy high in my range. I just was singing
yeah.
my throat, and I had no idea about anything vocally. I was just like, I could manage a set. So I used to, I mean, literally, it was probably till I was like
Mm-hmm.
17, I just lost my voice like all the time. And I also I
Mm-hmm.
didn't practice much vocally because I didn't consider myself a vocalist. So I was just like, I play bass, so I'll play my bass and then sing when it comes to practice, like band practice. But now, like since we've started actually,
Mm-hmm.
recording albums and performing our originals live, and there's some things in the studio when I do it in the studio and then I realize, crap, that that's a song now that we're gonna have to play
Yeah.
live. You know, if the road 4 nights in a row, day off 3 nights in a row, like I gotta make sure that I'm good for that. So I think before our first like big tour, which was not this past summer, but the summer before, it was like a 6 week
It's
tour, and we'd
awesome.
never
Yeah.
done anything like that. So before I realized like crap, like I have to
Mm-hmm.
make sure I know how to not lose my voice. So for that whole year leading up to it, I really just grinded on just practicing every night. I didn't get like formal lessons or anything. Like I didn't pay for anyone to like give me tips or anything like that. I just
Yeah.
kind of found warm-ups online, found whatever for me, and then practice, practice, practice. And it took a while for me to get to a point where I wasn't losing my voice, even if it was every other show. Now I'm at a point where like we just got off from 7 weeks on
Yeah.
the road, and my voice was fine the whole time, and I'm screams than ever in our set and feeling more freedom with it. But again, like it all just comes down to like practice. And sure, if you have a formal teacher, you probably could have saved more time than me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just learning yourself and just going with it. But I have found that it works well for me, and there's still hundreds of things I want to improve and work on. That's why I still practice all the time. But like, I think just practice, making sure you get it in is so important. And then for me, definitely finding a warm up. Like I couldn't imagine going into a show without at least like 10 minutes of warm up,
Yeah.
even if it's just simple like humming, stuff like that, and mouth exercises. Like, but for me, if I can, I try to get a 30-minute warm up in, and I have my whole routine. I have a playlist on Spotify of like easy songs I warm up to and make a bunch of weird noises for 30 minutes basically. But it helps.
It's always the worst when like there's a band that you love and you really want to see that plays like right before you, and it's
Yeah.
I
like
know.
I have to warm up or else I'm not going to be able. Like,
Yep.
no offense to your set so bad,
For
but
sure.
yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let me just catch up real quick.
Uh,
Mitch says, "I love you guys." Rain says, "I love your engagement on mental health." Yeah, you read my mind here. That was on the list coming up. You guys always do a great job of promoting, like, being a resource for mental health and for people who need access to this sort of things. Do you want to quick touch on that? Because I thought that was a great thing.
Yeah. Thank you. Whenever like someone notices that, that's more important to me than any other part of our set or anything, right? Because I think like as musicians, you're given a platform, and so we want to use that for more than just like the music. And so I certainly try to channel that into my lyrics as much as possible, and try to like almost all of any song that I write at its heart, it's hope centered and love centered. Um, and for me, faith centered too. I can't, that's like, it's unavoidable because it's so much a part of who I am. And so it's all throughout our message. But off stage, we, we want to have that too. We want to not just like get off stage and then give the high fives and leave, but like be more than that. Have that awesome opportunity. So like we work with that organization, Heart Support. We've worked with them for years now, and it's really cool because as much as we want to talk to people and everything, knowing myself and like what I've struggled with, it for people that are stubborn like me, when I like struggle with stuff in terms of not wanting to talk to someone, no matter how many times it says like, you can talk to me, I'll try every excuse not to still. And so again, Heart Support is cool because it gives that outlet for like, okay, you don't even have someone's face if you don't want to. You can just have a text conversation with them, right? So having that resource, people that have been in it longer than us, because we acknowledge we're not experts on it, right? But if people want to talk to us, that's what we're here for. And just, I don't know, letting people know that they're loved so much more than they could ever comprehend. Like that's my favorite part of the set, is being able to tell people that, because you never know the impact that that's going to have on someone, because I know it impacts me every single day knowing that.
Well put. And I think it's just a great great cause and a great way to get it out there. So nice work on that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Kinsey says becoming the master of your craft. Yeah, for sure. How about we talk a little bit about like musical, like you brought Mastodon before. Just are there certain like guitar players or bassists that you find really inspiring or influential?
Yeah, so for me, like two of the big ones
Nice.
are Bill Kelleher
Yeah.
from Mastodon for all his, and then Marty Friedman, just because all of the work on Rust in Peace is just legendary. But then a name that I feel like is so like underrated. This guy's name is Sam Vallon, and he plays for the band Caligula's Horse. They're like, are they from Australia or New Zealand?
I think Australia.
Yeah, they're this Australian like progressive metal band, and they're just like they're like flawless. They're so good that their like streaming numbers don't reflect how talented they are in the least. But they just write these like beautiful epic songs that like truly take you on a journey, like they really do. And the way that Sam Vallon plays is like it's almost like there's no separation between him and the guitar. Like every single note that he hits has so much intention and inflection behind it. Like he'll put the little miniest of squeals here and a little trap dive and like just do all these little things that like make it sound like he was just singing these like and his leads like almost every time I write a solo, I'm just trying to make it sound as good as a solo that he's written because it's just amazing. I would recommend for everybody to check out Caligula's Horse. And if you want a song to start with the song Dream the Dead. It kicks right off with a guitar solo that like, well, it starts the album and it blows my mind every single time I listen to it. And I've heard that song 10,000 times.
When you're like, how do you attack solos? It's just something you just kind of let rip a few times and see what happens and take bits from it, or is it something you're like, all right, I'm in this key, I'm gonna start on the fifth or the seventh or whatever, and I don't know. Is there a way you think about that kind of stuff or a process?
Yeah, so I don't have any like hard and fast way of like this is how I do it. But what I find myself typically doing is I will like loop the spot like in Pro Tools just when we're demoing, and I'll just listen for a little while and like see what I can kind of like imagine myself playing, because I really strive to have all of my solos, everything except the fast parts be like very singable. I really enjoy solos that are filled with melody. So I think about it for a little while, and then once I think about it, I go to apply it on guitar, and like it'll usually be a little. I'll usually start by just kind of messing around and finding some notes that I feel good with. But then if I'm like, okay, I know this part needs a run. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a piece of paper out of like a fretboard diagram, and I'll figure out what key I'm in, what scale I need to play, like what notes work, and I'll cover the fretboard and write all of them out, because sometimes when I do that, I'll find patterns that, like, it's not like a certain box of a scale, but it's like, oh, if I do this stretch and look at it that way, like I can see patterns of it in a way that I can't just visualizing the guitar where I'm at right now. So I like to do that, to look at new patterns. But then, yeah, the theory knowledge that I have also comes into major handy when we do all that stuff too, because I know where I can go from and what I can use and what notes I can mess around with. But it starts a lot with just trying to write a solo in my head and then getting that to guitar, and then from there just applying my theory and like fretboard knowledge to make what's in
I
my
love
head
that
out on the
because
guitar.
we just went through a whole audition process, and one of the things we would look for are like, all right, are people gonna, what are they gonna do first? Are they gonna just start playing right away, or are they gonna listen? Like the people we ended up gravitating towards were like the first thing they did was like just try to take it in and listen. They didn't really, they might just try to pick out a few notes here and there to see where they're at, but you just kind of take it all in, and then
Yeah.
so, and your point, I loved it. It's just like that's where you ultimately want to get as a musician, is where, and that's why I always say you should be able to sing your parts and play your parts simultaneously, for those exact reasons. Like that's the stuff that gets stuck in your head. I forget, she might be on here, but our manager was like, I think it was one of your instrumentals maybe, but she had it stuck in her head. You couldn't get it out, so she might post it in here if she's still in there. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I'm still trying to be at the point
Yeah.
where what's in my head can get read at the fretboard. There's still lots to be done,
A
but
never ending
that's the
yeah,
goal at
struggle for
least.
sure. Geodrift says love conquers all. Yes, agreed. Let's
Mhm.
see. Reese, Mitch says, Reese, how long did it take to perfect the drop from Wild to Frost Empire so fast? Good question.
Yeah. So honestly, it didn't take too long. Luckily, that drop is only one string because we play in that weird like Macedon like drop A tuning. So it's only one string I have to tune. And so I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that's how long I get. So I just, as soon as I stop playing, the last note that I play in Wild, I hit the tuner as soon as I stop, tune it, and it's kind of hard because when you're dropping a
Yep.
bass that low, even like polytune pedal, which is good picking up on low notes, sometimes like live I'll hit it and it like doesn't register it for longer than it should, and I'm kind of panicking. But I've gotten kind of used to how much I should turn it anyway, so I usually end up getting there. But it's not that stressful. I would just say the one thing that has been tricky about it, I only did it once, but it was enough to make me make sure I never do it again. It was at a fun like college show we were playing here at our college town, and luckily it was like mostly it was all friends and everything. So like, and people knew the song, so it kind of made it fun, but also worse in a way. Like obviously I'm tuning, right, and my tuner pedal mutes me, which is a huge part because it'd be so obnoxious if I
Yeah.
was audibly tuning. And I swore I turned like my tuner off right after I tuned it, but I didn't. So I like didn't click it hard enough. So I'm still muted. I didn't know that. And so I walk up front center of the stage, headbang right into it, and just silence. All you can hear is because it's bass and drums in that part. And like I just heard an audible like, oh, from the crowd. I did too, out loud. So I ran back and hit my tuner pedal and just like suffered the shame. But so that's the only thing that was ever caused a problem for me with that part.
Do you have any advice for musicians? Like, evidently, like eventually you'll come across these things. I had one at HMAC where it's just like these things are gonna pop up and happen. Some people get real hung up on them. Yeah, do you have any tips or for bands who you're gonna have these kind of snafus? Or what happened to me was we were doing our sound check and my low string popped. I never ever break a string ever. So just kind of like, holy shit. Well, I guess I got to get this thing fixed quick. But yeah, and is there like an experience, or how do you get over those? Is it just getting to another show and knock it out of the park to get out of your system?
Well, first of all, it's
Yeah,
insane. Did that happen to
for
you
the sound our
at
sound
HVAC?
check. So it was like, thank goodness it was during the sound check at least, but towards the end while we were playing through it, it just snapped. So I was like, oh boy, gotta take care of
Wow.
this.
I can't even believe that, because our sound check, the last 10
Oh,
seconds of
really?
sound check, my low string
Oh,
popped. That, that especially on a bass too. Like, dude, it like
same.
unwound from the
Yeah,
bridge.
yeah,
My
yeah. And
dude,
I
really?
don't I don't want to bring this up, but our
Yeah.
bass player said that she has a curse on her that people break strings around her. Like, well, something you don't really need to bring up. But that is
Yeah.
Oh,
crazy.
oh my god. Yeah, it is. Yeah, dude, it's insane you saying that. We had to. Luckily, again, it was during sound check. If we hadn't done that
Hmm.
last 20-second sound check, I would have had a song. And I don't. I probably should, but like we were packing our like rig, and I didn't bring an extra bass, and I
Hmm.
didn't have an
Yeah.
extra pack of strings, like an idiot. So like if it happened live,
Hmm.
we would have had to ask for someone else's bass. But we ran to guitar quick, and they gave me a string. But I think like stuff like that is gonna happen all the time. On tour, it happened to me where the same thing happened. A different
Hmm.
string unwound from my bridge. It was like my third string, which I every song, and we had like 3 songs left, and I'm not gonna like someone else's bass for the songs. So I kind of just like, you gotta own it. You have to act like nothing is wrong, and
100%.
the crowd is not gonna pick up on it. Like they're not gonna. After that show, I mean, I walked away thinking, oh my gosh, like that was, I screwed it all up. Like it's a train wreck, right? No one notices. Like even
Hmm.
our
I
parents.
didn't notice.
Yeah, you didn't notice. Parents who come to every show, they were like, "What happened?" Right? And I played 4 songs that one of my strings. So, like, I think one of the hardest things, one of the things that like just makes me cringe the most, you ever see a band do it, is like messing up. Especially if you're just messing up a part. It's not even like a technical issue, and you like make it known.
Yeah.
Don't get known. If you forget a solo, if I don't care how like embarrassing it is, if you forget a whole verse of lyrics, then if you can't remember it, either repeat the first verse's lyrics and own it, like that's the song, or walk away from your mic to the front of the stage and like you meant to anyway. Like just don't make it known, and the audience isn't
Great
going to think twice.
tips. Yeah. Um, let's see. We're gonna catch up a little bit here. Rain asks, "How does your song writing process work?" Oh, and Angel says, "Nosedive." Really quick, "Nosedive" was the
Okay.
song that got stuck in her head.
Oh,
Oh,
heck yeah,
awesome.
that's
Oh,
sick.
it's so cool.
Yeah. So our songwriting process will typically work with like, for me, like I write all of our riffs, and typically even when I just sit down to practice guitar, I end up writing like just
Yeah.
riffs. For better or riffs won't stop coming out. So like I'll just start cranking out riffs, and then eventually I'll get some riffs that I feel like go well together and an arrangement of the song. And then once we get that arrangement down, show it to Reese. And a lot of our like bass parts
Hmm?
are very similar to the guitar parts. Um, but then we also have a lot where like typically if we're just playing like a breakdown or a verse, like they'll be very similar and we'll like lock right in with each other. Then for a chorus, we'll usually get more into like a big like stringy bass line or doing full bass chords or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll work that out together. And then once we get an arrangement, we'll demo it in Pro Tools and then send it over to John, and he will like listen to it a whole bunch, and then when it's time to practice, we'll get together and hit it in person a few times, and then from there it's just constant tweaks and updates to the demo. And we'll, like once we get the arrangement down, we'll start to add like solos, different layers. We like to do a lot of like different guitar layers that happen in the background, and then once the song is pretty fleshed out, then vocals are typically the last thing to come. And Reese does all of
Cool.
our lyrics, like all of them, and we'll use the melodies together.
Yeah.
Just making a note there to come back to that. Shit, what was the thing I wanted to ask you? Mitch wants to know the best Star Wars movie. Do you guys want to comment on that?
I, I, I wish I had a better answer because I don't really
Okay.
know. We're not big Star Wars fans.
Not a big song. Sorry.
I'm sorry. If you ask me like Lord of the Rings or something, I'll be your guy.
Let's see. How about we just go right to thank you, Rain, for you. Oh, and she says thank you for the answer. We just stick on that for a moment. Lyrics, like, how do you tackle that sort of thing? Does it always come last? Do you start with lyrics sometime or an idea? Do you wait for like some kind of theme to happen or like a feel?
Yeah. So I mean, I always like. I think lyrics always come after the fact. So I'm always writing. Like I love to write
Mhm.
all different sorts of things, not just lyrics. So I'm always writing just in general. It's unavoidable, I think, at this point for me. So I have a bunch of ideas cooking all the time. And I think for any like lyricist too, I think every lyricist should have just like a journal all the time
Mhm.
on them, even if it's just your notes in your phone. Always just keep lines you hear or words,
Mhm.
just even a word that you like that sounds cool. Always keep stuff in mind or themes that you're noticing that you feel strongly about. So I always do that, and so I always kind of have this like little like group of like ideas that I can always start from. So I'm never out of ideas. That's important to start. And so once we have the song written, I'll kind of feel out what I need to write about at that time. Like what needs to come
Mhm.
out, what's going to be authentic, what do I feel strongly about right now. I don't care if I've sung about it before, or I don't care if it's going to be hard to. If I'm feeling it, like let me do it. And so then I just tackle it from there. And a lot of times too, I like taking inspiration from whether it's a poem I read or a story or idea I heard or saw in a movie. And I like to borrow from that too. I think art borrows from art. And so I do that unashamedly sometimes. So I think lyrics definitely for me, they come second. But once I start on them, it's always a process until the very end, just like any other part of music. It's not just like, sweet, I got verse one done, check. Like I'm going back, I'm checking, I'm seeing like if there's even a phrase that might
Mhm.
sound like kind of cringy or it's not, so just being super like militant about making sure when I look back on those lyrics every word I can say like, yeah, I
Yeah, they need to be
I
delivered
stand by that.
confidently, and that's like the one thing I always say. Like the way we work, sometimes like people will have lines or lyrics or something, and I'm like, yeah, I want to take them in and use them, but I might tweak them just to make sure like I'm comfortable. If I'm the one delivering them, I have to be comfortable with what they are. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Let's see. Rain asks, what was your favorite venue on tour or craziest story at a venue?
So I think one of the craziest stories that we had, we were playing in at this venue in Indiana, and it was like it was a really cool place, like small room but packed. And the opener band brought out a ton of people too. They were a local band, so they had a bunch of their buddies there. And one of their buddies kind of got a little off kilter, and we were touring with a band who had a female bass player, and he was like the
Mm.
guy was being an idiot. He was like hitting on
No,
her from stage, like
no.
not acceptable behavior. And yeah,
Yeah.
and so like from stage they were yelling like get this guy taken out.
Mm.
He got kicked out of the venue for the night. But since he was so off kilter, he couldn't really wrap his head around that he needed to stop and go away. So he's outside talking to the singer of the local band because they had known each other. And the dude who was off kilter just starts pushing, and the guy's like, the dude from the local band's like, I'm not here for this. So he just gets him right in the face and drops the guy.
Oh,
And the dude's still not done. So like he down and gave him a few more, and like I guess the dude was in rough shape. He was like on parole, and the cops came. So he's like he's
He's in
he's going
jail.
back to some bad stuff. And there was
yeah.
blood on the pavement when we left the venue, and it all happened when we were setting up and going on. So everybody was outside trying to deal with that situation, and we were like, "What happened? Like this place was packed. Everybody left as soon as we our set. What did we do wrong?" And then everybody came back, and we were like, "Oh, okay, I don't know what happened," but we realized like when we tour in the summer, we bring our little dog with us, And this happened right next to our RV, which he was in at the time.
Mm,
So like our little
mm.
dog watched the whole thing go down. He watched some guy
Ugh.
rock down the
I feel like
street.
it's one of the most dangerous times, like when someone's out of control like that and they get dropped once, but then they think they can come back. I feel like that's when it really gets dangerous because then they can just get teed off on and really hurt. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, it was rough.
it was.
Uh, let's see. Serial Zen asks, have you ever encountered anyone disrespectful?
The, yeah, there is this one time we were playing this show where like the venue had two stages. There was a big stage and a small stage, and the big stage had this
Oh yeah.
it was like a local thrash legends night. So there were a bunch of like, it was around Chicago. There was a bunch of really big like thrash bands from Chicago in the area playing, and we were on the small stage that night, and people were kind of going back and forth. Um, and like you had some old dudes who were like just like thrash punishers who we heard talking. You're like, oh, what are you gonna go watch those kids that dance on stage in there? But hey, we're on stage
Yeah,
dancing and having
being
fun. Like,
entertaining and all that.
if you
Yeah.
want to compare, yeah.
Let's see.
I will say though, that's not representative of the metal scene in general.
Oh
Because
no,
I know
no.
people I think outside of the metal scene have this false like idea of
Sure.
what people in the metal scene are like. Most people are so nice and so
Oh yeah.
loving, and I mean that literally, I wasn't even gonna say anything because I forgot about that. I
That's the
think
one I can think
in
of for
ever
anyone
playing
being
live,
disrespectful.
yeah, yeah.
Um, can you talk a little bit about touring now that you have a whole bunch underneath your belt? Like, what would you tell a band that, maybe like us who have gone outside for a couple shows but never have been on an extended like run? Do you have any like advice or um, yeah, information?
Um, I think if you can do it, you should do it because it's awesome and it's just an amazing experience that like if you're lucky enough to have the opportunity to do it and the means to, it's really like it's life changing just to have
Yep.
those have like meet those people every night, make those connections and be able to like impact those people's lives and let those people impact your life as well. It's like it's amazing to be able to do that. But just yeah, like it just kind of it's almost impossible to get in a routine on tour, but get in as much of a routine as you can because like shows a lot of times you're not done loading out until 2, and like you can't really stay like you can't keep doing it if after that you still want to party for a few hours because you're on like a post show high. Like you have to know when like it's time to go and when you need to prioritize your sleep, even if your sleep is from 3 to 11 every day. Like you got to know when to get that. For us, like staying fit on the road is a big thing. Like whenever we're in a campground on an off day, like go for a run, try to lift something on our off day, like eat healthy. Well, I mean, you can only do so much, but we'll just get bags of salad from Walmart, pop them open and dump a bunch of dressing in it. And like there's lunch and dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So like if try to keep it as maintainable as you can because it really is hard. Like I don't think we could have if or at least I don't think I could have done it if I didn't go to bed until 4 and ate Taco Bell and yeah, if I didn't run the whole time. You got to still watch out for yourself because it is very draining and mentally exhausting as well.
Yeah, it not only makes it more enjoyable in the long run to take off, but like it makes it possible. It really isn't possible to like do it safely and like actually survive and enjoy it. Like if I don't know how any vocalist would be able to get just 5 hours of sleep each night and eat like fast food every day and like do a set every night. You know, if you could do it, props to you. I know for me, like I need like sleep is like vital to making sure that my voice is night, and then always drinking like a gallon of water a day like just little things like that. And like we said, being at Ken and giving yourself the mental break when you need it so that no one.
Oh, I lost you there for a second. There you are. All right, cool.
Be back.
Yeah, if there's anything else you want to read off and answer for anyone, feel free. If not, we're just about at time, so we can plug some stuff up to you.
Sweet. Yeah, the only other thing on tour is free dog. Yeah. Well, when we're on tour, we also have our parents with us. Our parents have been
That's so
major
awesome.
support since day one, and we couldn't do it with like both of our parents are teachers, and we're all full-time college students at the moment. So all of us have the summer off. It's time to go. We all just hop in. It's 5 of us and the dog in the RV, and yeah, like our dad, as many times as I've offered, he drives everywhere. Like he takes that on and loves doing that. And our mom helps coordinate just logistics with everything. She takes care of Solo, and it's just a major mood booster to have around. But yeah, we got them, and their support really is like one of the biggest reasons we're able to do any of this.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I just want to read this one because Rose says, "Ha ha ha! All the salad you left with from COC3." I just thought that was funny.
Thank you for that.
We were eating for days.
All right, Bryson Reese of Brotality, thank you so much for jumping on here. We're just at about an hour. Why don't you just plug everything one more time and let everyone know where they can catch it, and then we'll let you get to it.
Yes, we are Brotality. You can find us all over. We have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're all over any streaming you can find online. We've got a couple albums out. Stay tuned because we are working on a bunch of new stuff that should be happening soon with that. So just make sure you follow us everywhere. We actually have TikTok now too, as crazy as that is. So yeah, you can follow us anywhere. You can listen to our music anywhere. We have merch. If you hit us up, we can get you merch. We just dropped a website as well. Make sure you guys also follow Bellwether if you're coming on here with that credential.
Thank you for this the on-stage shout out too. I wanted to make sure to say that. I really appreciate that.
Of course. If you're on this from us and haven't checked out Bellwether, make sure you give them a follow. They're absolutely awesome, and really a pleasure to be out here with you and chat with you. This has been a blast.
So much fun.
And we'll end there and have a break a leg on all your shows coming up. And we'll see you out there soon. And thank you everyone for coming.
Thanks so much, man.
We appreciate it. All right, have a good night.